Now, there's a high incidence of sudden deaths among executives, business executives in Nigeria, and this is getting a little bit worrying when folks who are just about middle-aged business executives suddenly drop dead. So, sometimes this school gets really on those who are in the financial system. Perhaps sometimes folks don't link it together. But how you live your life today affect your tomorrow? Perhaps how you live long, sometimes to enjoy those money you're squirreling away as your pensions or for retirement. Let's cross over to our Abuja studios to talk to the Executive Director in charge of Business Development and Investment at Premium Pension. Kayode Akande is joining us live here on the program. Good morning. Thanks for coming through on the program. We appreciate that.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
We really appreciate that. Let's start from this very worrying development, this increase in the number of sudden deaths of business executives in Nigeria. How much of this is a consideration for lifestyle, how we live our lives up to the time in which we can sit back, lay back, and enjoy what we call pensions or retirement?
Thank you very much. How we live our life today not only affects our present, but it also affects our future. There's been so much discussion around work-life balance because quite a number of us wants to make sure we provide comfort for ourselves or our families in the immediate and in the distant future. We tend to overwork ourselves, and we probably do not take a significant importance or attach importance to our relaxation, our health, and the likes, which is very, very critical because it's when you are alive and in good health that you can actually work. So as regards the number of executives probably having some sudden death, doctors have always advised that we go on periodic medical checkups. We try to engage in one form of exercise or the other, and we generally tend to ensure that we don't overload ourselves in the cost of working.
Yes, so in the world of finance, wealth creation, financial planning, those of you who are in this line of business now thinks that lifestyle and healthcare, daily living is as important as the size of the money I'm putting away for retirement, if I'm going to be alive to enjoy it. Is it?
Yeah, you're right. Generally, nobody plans to die suddenly, and statistics actually do show that the lifespan of the average Nigerian has slightly been on the increase, and you got to make sure that you provide sufficiently for a comfortable life for yourself in retirement. We do say statistically that whatever is your level of income now, minimum 50% of that should be available for you to live your life in retirement, i.e. if what you earn monthly now is 100,000 naira, you will need minimum of 50,000 naira to be able to enjoy the same level of comfort for yourself and your family as you enjoy now as in retirement. Why 50%? Lots of research has gone in to show that quite a number of your expenses that are recurrent in your active life, you no longer need to incur them in your retirement life. But there are still some basic ones that you cannot avoid. And there will now be new lines of expenses, especially medicals, that you actually be confronted with by the time you retire. So it's critical for you to make a financially solid plan for your life in retirement, so that you will not be a burden to others, and probably even at retirement you actually be a burden lifter to others.
Well, this is a very interesting conversation. I'm sure our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world are listening very carefully. Even here in the studios, some of the cameramen here listen more importantly to this conversation. They're listening more attention. They're paying more attention to this conversation because everybody's concerned about how we live our lives. So everybody's concerned. All ears are up now as to how to live our pensions. Now, in the business of pensions and giving advice to Nigerians, whether they're business executives or ordinary Nigerians who wants to put some little away for retirement or for pensions or whatever it is, or after active work life, what is changing in terms of the advice being given across board, as it were, not just in terms of money being put away, but how to just change things around from a pension management point of view?
Well, sometimes in 2004, the Nigerian pension landscape was altered dramatically. That was when the contributory pension scheme was introduced. Prior to that, we had operated a defined benefit scheme, which really do not provide for the fund to finance your life in retirement, and it's expecting that that will be predicated on the regular recurrent budget. Now that we are in a peculiar situation in a recession where even the active workers, their salaries are a challenge for the employers to pay, you can imagine what will be the lot of retirees under this circumstance. Now, the contributory pension scheme is a radical shift from that, in that provides for funding for your life in retirement, and you are not basing your life in retirement upon handouts from your former employers. You yourself have actually sort of like created an investment, a bank account, which you have put money, and the money has been growing in your 35 years of active life, such that by the time you retire, you've actually accumulated sufficient fund for you to now plan your retirement. Now, the beautiful thing is that at the point of retirement, the money that you've accumulated in your retirement account is not static. As you are drawing benefits from it on a monthly basis, it's still being invested and returns are accruing to it, such that no matter how long you live, especially if you now have a sufficient fund and you can take care of your medicals in old age and you tend to live longer, there will still be some sizable balances in your pension fund account at the point of death eventually, that you actually have something to even leave behind for your beneficiaries. So that's the structure. Now, in your active life, a certain percentage of your monthly emoluments is being set aside from your own part and from the part of your employer, and is being kept with your pension fund administrator, whose job is not to keep the money in a till, but to invest the money and make sure that the money grows, such that by the time you are retiring, let's assume that over a period of 35 years you've worked, you've accumulated, let's say, 50 million naira in direct contribution. What you probably be having in your pension account will be in the region of 150, 180, 200 million because of the cumulative compounding interest on your investment over that period.
Well, that sounds, you just push out some nice figures that I can put some smiles to if I have that much money sitting somewhere, and I could just perhaps walk out of the studios today and say, well, perhaps I should be taking my pensions early, but I don't think I'm due for that yet. But you mentioned the period we are economic recession, so financial stress management becomes a headline topic, isn't it? Are you folks handling that as pension managers?
You're right. Well, the beautiful thing is that financial stress is a function of what your expectations are. Just 3 days ago, I was looking at my pension account and I smiled despite the recession that surrounds me as I speak now, because that gives me an inkling as to what my life in retirement is actually going to look like.
What about what size of pension do you have?
To put in my active life as a worker as I speak. Hello?
Yes, I was asking, what's the size of your pension?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. The question was, what's the size of your pension? You said you smiled
The size of my personal pension?
Yes. Okay, let's laugh it off. Go ahead. No, I know. There's no disclosure. I know.
But let's talk about.
That's okay. I will understand. I understand.
Let's talk about the size of the pension industry as we speak.
Yeah, please go ahead.
We've always heard about the history of pension in Nigeria. When we started in 2004, the defined contributory pension scheme, there were estimates out there that pension deficits and liabilities were in excess of 2 trillion. Between 2004 and 2016, we have moved from a deficit. We now have assets under management, which belongs to you and I, all of us that are working, in the region of close to 7 trillion naira. We moved from a deficit of minus 2 trillion now to over 7 trillion naira. And that's taking into account barely 7 million employees that have registered in the contributory pension scheme. And that tells us that probably only 10% of the working population of Nigeria is currently participating in the contributory pension scheme and has accumulated such huge funds. And that's why the next phase for the pension industry is for us to move and try to bring in the informal sector into the pension scheme so that we can have an all-inclusive, and we do not have a situation whereby it's only the guys that have worked in the formal sector all their lives that now have a good retirement life. People, artisans, that have put in sufficient work life in their active life to, albeit in the informal sector, they too should be able to enjoy a good and quality life in their retirement life. And if we look at our numbers, if I was looking at Nigeria's GDP figures for 2015, roughly about 95 trillion. 41% of that, according to the Office of the National Bureau of Statistics, is actually attributable to the informal sector. Now, that's in financial terms. The beautiful thing, or the most significant thing, is that the informal sector actually employs multiples of the number of people that are employed in the formal sector. So we cannot continue to go on carrying just the formal sector along and believe that we're comfortable. Otherwise, we'll be building a time bomb.
I agree with you.
The formal sector being taken care of in retirement and the informal sector not being taken care of. It's quite interesting.
I agree with you totally. I'm sorry to cut in there. I'm sorry to cut in there. I agree with you. Totally, we need to look more into the informal sector. I'm sorry, our time is up. The conversation will definitely continue. But it's good to have someone like you smile if you work for a pension firm, and that means folks will be looking forward to you to smile. Thank you very much. Do have a great day. Kayode Akande, who is the ED, Executive Director of Business Management and Investment at Premium Pensions.